Well, hello there. Welcome to You Enjoy Life. I'm outside right now in my backyard. This place has kind of become my sort of like safe haven, my peaceful, just like go-to. You know, being in Peru is amazing. I love traveling, but there's something about being home and having a place where you can create that I just love. I love traveling for inspiration, to learn new things, but I found that like I love having land because there's something about me every morning waking up, spending a few hours, you know, and then every night spending a few more hours just in the yard, planting, growing, doing all this stuff that just makes me feel more peaceful, makes me feel more grounded. And today I was thinking about something that has been on my mind for a minute recently, and it's this concept that trees can teach you so much. And I want to share with you a little bit of a story. First, I want to show you a couple of my trees here and express to you why I have this interesting tale about the tree and some of the most amazing life lessons that a tree has ever taught me. So this is a Honeycrisp apple, no fruit this year. This is a Brayburn apple, and I can see not too much, you know, it's still maybe it's 5-year-old tree or something, but I'm starting to get some nice apples on there. So maybe I'll get, you know, 7 to 10 apples on this tree if things go well. So these are two of the trees that I planted very early on. Hey there, Freya. And I also planted this peach tree, and this tree is doing so well. It's just like so lush and beautiful, and there's a ton of peaches on this thing. I've already thinned it out a bunch. I've already basically, I could probably do some more thinning, but especially when a tree is smaller, it can't produce too much fruit. So even though it's going to, you know, it's going to put out a lot of flowers and a lot of them can get pollinated, what you do is you kind of go through and you sort of pull off the ones that are smaller. You don't want to have too many pieces of fruit per branch because it can only produce so much. So if you want to get nice big peaches, you kind of pull away the ones that don't look as strong and you leave the other ones. I'm also getting, you guys know, I'm getting a lot of yellowing recently in my trees, and it could be overwatering, could be something else, but if you know, let me know, because I feel like why is it, I think it's actually probably too much water. So Colorado's so interesting, you know, you think you know it. Like last year I spent the year kind of understanding the climate here, and I thought that I had a good grip on it, and then this year it's been like raining, you know, like almost every day, like even these small spurts of rain, and we're getting humid. I feel it's like humid right now, and last year was just so dry and there was almost no rain, and now we're like over rain. So I think maybe these guys are just getting maybe just over watered. But as you can see, I have some mulcher on there, and the mulch is great because it keeps the moisture in, because when the sun hits, you know, the dirt, it evaporates a lot of the moisture, so this keeps the moisture in, as well as it breaks down, it sort of feeds the tree and gives it all kinds of good stuff. So what I want to do now is talk to you a little bit and set my camera up and just talk to you about how powerful and important trees are, and a lot of the amazing things that I've learned from observing trees and kind of speaking to them. So when I first moved to Colorado, you know, we bought this piece of land, and it's about a 1/4 acre, and it was basically just overgrown with weeds and like kind of, as they call them, junk trees. We had that all taken out and a fence put in, and ever since then I've just been going piece by piece by piece to make the land just nicer and better, and I'm not overwhelming myself. It's a lot of work. When I first moved here, I basically had one mission, and my mind has changed so much. When I first came here, I was like, I love fruit, I'm obsessed with fruit, I just want to have as much fruit as possible and as fast as possible. So what I did was I went to the plant nursery, got 4 trees. I got a plum, I got a peach, and I got 2 apples, because you need, you know, 2 apples at least to pollinate them. Peaches and plums pollinate themselves. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put them in the ground, the biggest ones I can find, and I'm gonna have fruit much faster than I would otherwise. Now, I knew at the time it'd be a long-term investment. I knew at the time that in order for me to, you know, really appreciate how much fruit I would get, I'd have to spend like, you know, years really nurturing this fruit, and one day have these hopefully giant peach trees that were just feeding me like, whoa. So I knew it was this long-term investment, and I knew I couldn't be just thinking in the present. I had to look to my future to have this benefit. So that was the first thing I was looking at. But what I didn't realize was still how impatient I was being, and how much, when it comes to fruit trees and really anything in life, you truly have to have a strong foundation. So the way, you know, any tree essentially works, I mean, all trees are different, but we'll just, you know, speak to fruit trees right now, is that, you know, you buy, let's say you buy a 2 or 3 year old fruit tree, it's a couple feet tall. Well, you take it out of its pot, and it's root bound. So in the pot, it's got like, you know, all these roots covering it, and you kind of break them up a bit, and then you dig a hole that's about twice the size of that, you know, root ball. You put it in, and you kind of amend the soil. You might have to add some sort of extra soil or compost or whatever, usually just like 50-50. At least I was doing 50-50 compost to just my natural soil, because even I could amend that whole area, but eventually the tree's going to spread out and hit the soil. So you kind of, it's good to mix things up. So I started to realize that this idea of having fruit as fast as possible just wasn't realistic, because what happens is when you plant a fruit tree, you might have fruit, you might buy a fruit tree from the nursery and actually already have fruit on the tree. And so this is something I did actually with a couple trees last year. I got a bunch of trees and I was like, wow, they already have flowers or they already have fruit in them. I put them in the ground and I was thinking, this is great because I'm going to have fruit the first year. What I did not know was that the best thing to do for the first, if not the first 2 years, is to pull off all the fruit. And this is one of those sort of things like doing when you love fruit and you're excited about having fruit, and then all of a sudden you're being told that you have to pull off the fruit and you shouldn't eat it the first year. That was a very, very, just hard concept for me to grasp. And honestly, with some trees I skipped it. Luckily, a lot of trees just dropped all their fruit because, when you put something in the ground for the first time, there's a lot of shock that goes into it. It's switching homes, it's switching containers, and it takes a long time to really establish itself. It takes at least a month until you don't have to be watering it all the time, and even it takes like a year to really fully establish a fruit tree. So if you're smart at the beginning and you give the tree the right care and you pull the fruit off, over time it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. If you're not smart, and what I did with some trees is I plant them in the ground and I'm like, oh great, there's cherries on this. Because it's focusing now on producing fruit, the tree actually doesn't have the opportunity, to really focus on its root system. And the problem with that is that, over the years there's going to be a weaker root system, and it's all about the root system. So I started thinking about this and realizing it's the same thing for life. If you're someone who just wants to have everything right now, if you want to have the fancy job, the awesome community, if you want to have the big bank account and the nice home and all these things, that's great. But if you're not focusing on creating a strong foundation for yourself, you might find that you're gonna, even as you get these things, it's not hard to make a lot of money if you want to make a lot of money. But if you don't have a strong foundation for who you are, for what you truly love, for what makes you happy, for what inspires you, well then you could make money and then suddenly realize, oh my God, I'm not happy. I don't have this strong foundation in myself. So I started looking at trees and myself and how they really compared. And what I realized was just that. I need to focus on what makes me just intrinsically happy outside of the external. Because I was looking at the fruit tree just as fruit. I didn't see the other elements to it. And my first year and a half of living here, all I wanted to do is have as much fruit as possible, because to me that's like the goal, that's the win, that's the end of the destination. Getting to pull a fresh peach off a fruit tree that you grew and getting to eat it is incredible. But as I've grown to appreciate every step of the growing process, I realized that as much as I like eating the fruit, I equally enjoy every other piece. And I did not imagine that was going to happen. It kind of blew my mind, honestly, because I really felt like, well, of course, the fruit, that's the win, that's the gold. But I started enjoying, the planting process of it and amending the soil and going through and, picking out any smaller peaches and dead leaves and pruning. And, when I was first moved here, I was seeing it as work and things I had to get done so that I could have this harvest. And now I'm actually realizing that part of the enjoyment is in the whole process. So when you look at things as a process, and you can actually enjoy each step of the way, suddenly there's no trying to get somewhere. Because when you're trying, as a human, when you're trying to make a lot of money, who doesn't want to they set these goals, like I want to have a company that makes $1 million in my first year, and you have these goals, or I want to do this thing and sell this many tickets, or have this band that sells this many records, and we always have these goals, and we're just living our life to achieve the goals. But we're missing out on the enjoyment of building the foundation, because the foundation building is just as amazing as actually hitting the goal. Because the truth about goals is that they're great. It's great to have goals because they drive you in a direction. It's great to say, hey, I want this thing, because it will drive you towards something. But from what I've seen and experienced, the moment you hit that goal, especially if you don't have a strong foundation, you realize that is not the answer, because you're still not happy, you're still not satisfied. So then you set a new bigger goal, and your whole life, no matter what goal you get to, there's a new bigger goal. I saw it on YouTube. When we had 10,000 followers, I just wanted 50,000. When we had 50,000, I wanted 100,000. Then I wanted 500,000, and suddenly I wanted 1 million. Then when we had 1 million followers, it was kind of like, by the time we hit 1 million, it was cool, but it was also like, whatever, because I realized that wasn't anything that was going to bring me happiness. What I loved was the process, the connecting with the fans, the every day, making every day great. And I think I love The same thing with growing. Every day trying new things. And when things don't work out, listen, I've lost a lot of trees. I've planted probably, upwards of 50 trees at this point in my yard, plus bushes and all kinds of stuff. And, I've probably lost almost a quarter of them to different reasons. And I've learned, and now I'm losing less trees because I've learned about having the proper soil and the proper watering system, and the climate and what trees work here and what trees don't. So I'm okay with that, because we're going to make mistakes along the road, and I think if you appreciate the process, even the things that go wrong actually are just a part of your whole story. If you step back and you look at your story of life, and you see yourself now, if you're like happy in this moment, let's say you feel some sort of joy or content, well, you can look back at your life and realize that, hey, those great things that happened are great, but also the things that weren't great, or the bad things that happened, they still led me to here, and that's great. And that is another really powerful piece to me, is like the learning. I was so scared to lose my fruit trees at first, and like anything went wrong, what's going on? But I realized over time it doesn't matter, because it's a learning process, and you can learn as much as you want online, but at the end of the day, like, the experience is going to be unique to you. I watched every freaking YouTube video on growing trees and planting, gardening, and read books and talked to people. At the end of the day, I just get out here and remember as much as I can and do my best, because just like cooking, you could follow an exact recipe for a cake, but your oven probably preheats and heats and holds heat differently than any other oven. The flour you're getting is specific to that, the air that you have, and the moisture. There's all these things that factor in. So if you're just trying to carbon copy someone, especially when they don't live where you live, you're gonna have different results. So what I say is learn as much as you can, but at the end of the day, trust your intuition, go out there and have fun. And that has been a huge lesson in the yard for me. Like, I've gotten so much, and I will continue to get so much different information. Like, I just had some sort of tomato infection recently, and I posted on Instagram, and some people are like, oh, that's this bug, you got to do this, and some people say, oh, that's a disease, like you're screwed. Some people say, oh, it's not a big deal. There's all this information coming in, and I have to filter through that and decide and decipher what actually is right for me and what works for me. So if you're someone who's trying to, whether it's growing or growing your own life, and again, that's a huge part of this channel, it's not about, the tree is like a metaphor. The tree is a metaphor for life, and anything that you do can reflect back on yourself. So I like to see them hand in hand. Same with cooking. When I'm in the kitchen, I'm learning new skills. I'm testing myself. I'm trying things, but it's not just for cooking. It's for my own life. Whatever that is, I'm going after. So you can look at planting as everything and stress out about it, or you can connect it to your life and actually learn something and grow. And trees are great because when you really give them the love and the care they need to build a strong foundation, and you take care of them in the ways they need, and you're just present, they're going to, for the most part, feed you and help you. And that's another thing. My brain has expanded so much since I've been here. I was definitely feeling really overwhelmed when I started planting all these trees, realizing, oh my God, I need to start caring for these trees. Like, I need to water them. I need to know like every tree needs different fertilizers and soil and all these things, and I was getting freaked out. And now I don't. Like, now it's a meditation. Now I go from tree to tree. Every morning I look at them, I see if there's any, infections, disease, bugs, anything that's going on, and I just kind of, hang out the tree, talk to the tree a little bit. I'm a weird tree person, what can I say? But trees, they're living things, and if you develop a connection with them, you actually can kind of speak their language, and it's really cool. So I hope this video helped you out. If you'd like to subscribe for more, please subscribe to You Enjoy Life. If you'd like to subscribe to You Enjoy Life, you're welcome to. Tons of music, food, growing content, whether it's growing your life or growing your yard, and I will see you soon.